think we'll go ahead and get started. Good afternoon, everyone. How are you all? Very well. Good, good. I'd like to just take a few moments to find out who everyone is. I know about, you know, the majority of you, but a couple of you I don't know or I've seen, and I just don't remember your names. And plus, too, it's just good if we got to know who is who. So, Alex, I'll start with you, and we'll just kind of go counterclockwise a little bit.
Okay, I'm Alex Rose. I'm from the Management and Marketing Department.
Okay, perfect.
Hello everyone, I'm Firmpate Watson and I'm the new director for the Faculty Development Center here. So I'm very glad to see all of you and I look forward to seeing you at many more sessions. We will have a number of other sessions rolling out. Are you all on our newsletter? Are you all? Great. Thank you. So keep looking out, they will come.
Hi, I'm Viva Park and I'm from College of Education and Human Services.
Yeah, can't forget human services now.
My name is Dana Stanton. I'm the new business librarian over in Waterfield.
I'm Jennifer Earls. I'm the director
Yes.
of the CAPE department in the College of Education and Human Services.
Very good.
Elena Pisich, I teach at Department of Modern Languages.
Very good. Awesome. Well, it's glad to see everyone here, and thank you for coming out to this session. I am Melony Shemberger. I teach in the Journalism and Mass Communications department in the College of Business. A lot of these tools that I'm going to introduce to you or explain to you, some of you might know a few of these, but give you some ideas as to how you can incorporate them into some of your lessons. But a lot of these tools come about to me because of the nature of my work in journalism. We're always using a number of tools, not only in our classrooms, but these are tools that students will go out into the news reporting field and hopefully use them. And if they don't use them, they at least have a foundation to use when they are applying it to other tools. So in this case with you, all of you are probably, you work with some sort of technology already. And when you are working with students and trying to build a repertoire for them in tools, you know, what they can learn here, they can start to adapt to other things. But for our purpose today, come on in, Ben. That's okay, how are you? This is Ben Littlepage, College of Education and Human Services. So that way, with students, though, in your classes, you'll be able to find ways to connect it to your instruction, okay? So that's kind of a good double-edged sword to this, if you will. I'm also a faculty teaching fellow for the remainder of this semester. So if you ever find that you would like my help in anything, you know, feel free to contact me. Let me just briefly tell you how this workshop came to be. This was done at the Kentucky Convergence Conference held in November at Bowling Green at Western Kentucky University. It was also one of the workshops selected for video playback. So you can also find this workshop online, although we are also and I'll just wave to the camera, hi, we are also showing this for our own Murray State faculty. So you can find either through our FDC website or you can probably just search it through Kentucky Convergence Conference and it's still on its website as well, okay? So we'll go ahead and get started here. There. So what we're going to do today is talk about at least 4 tools that I use consistently, okay? There are others out there that I use. To me, they're just, at least I'm not thinking of the ways that we can use them across different forms of instruction. But the purpose of this is to share with you some ideas of software, and these are really your web-based programs here, okay, that can help students to embrace certain concepts that you are wanting to strengthen, okay? And we do this by helping them, or you create, so it's either or, either the student creates or you create, but you're creating content that can be more meaningful, more purposeful, if you will, okay? So the 4 we are choosing to look at today, Photobabble, Padlet, Piktochart, and Storify. Like I said, these are my 4 favorites. I use these all the time in my instruction. It's something that students do like. They like a little change up. Now, as far as the of some of these tools, when they have to use them, they get a little frightened sometimes because there are some technological considerations here. But nevertheless, we can work through those and at least show them how you can learn to try to correct and improve those situations. I have some ideas for some lessons, just some real quick ones for each one. So I'm going to show you how I've done them, but then how you can also use them in other instances. They're also good for either online or on-site. Okay, I've used them for both. All right. You really want to build that toolkit. That toolkit is so important, and I don't know how much that might have been really relayed to you when you first came on to Murray State or when you first started teaching, but I've always felt that the more inventory you had in that toolkit of yours, the more tools you have, then just, you're just able to just pull something out and you can modify and you can adapt as quickly as possible. But it's that toolkit for student success. Now, maybe there might be a semester when you don't use a certain tool, but you will choose another one, okay? Either way, you are strengthening your ability to understand how some of this technology works and when it should work, okay? Like everything I try to do, I try to base things on some theories. I'm not always a theoretical person, but sometimes in the instruction, if I want to justify why we're doing what we're doing, I look to theory to help us with this. So I do base my choosing of various tools, not just because of the field I'm in, but also on these two theories here. So Web 2.0 technologies, these are both recent theories. This theory really just emphasizes the use of social networks, other various media sharing devices, all this creative content we have out there. All are oriented to participation. Okay, we want students to participate. That's really what we want. Not only do we want them to participate, but we want them to collaborate and think of things that they can do and build on top of that. Connectivism 2004. This is a learning theory, and Ben, you might know a little bit about this theory. I don't know, but I would think you might. And this is more for the digital age today. Okay, so it's a learning theory for the digital age. There's a lot of learning theories out there, but this one is very, that speaks to us the most. And in this theory, it talks about how knowledge is distributed, okay? And it's distributed, and if you can apply it to the Web 2.0 technologies, and that's how I kind of like to do it this way. So the learning then is distributed, that knowledge, through the technologies. And then we're forming that cognitive development, hopefully a little bit, okay? So that creating and sharing and that visual learning can help to produce some emotions. They can finally maybe connect to the material somehow, either if it's just an aha moment or something they're really proud of, but they connect to it in some way, okay? So when we have that cognitive development, that actual learning, and then when we have the pride that might go into the student work, as well as maybe even pride with what you're putting together and it's going to show in your instruction, then we're producing learning, okay? There is a caveat that I like to really stress. Technology is fun. I love anytime when a new tool comes out, new software, and in our field, we're always having new things to play with. I think in a lot of ways that's why students are attracted to my field, because it's just a lot of neat stuff. Social media is fun and everything, but that's not all it is, okay? So whatever technology you choose to use, doesn't matter if it's web-based, it could be computer-based, it doesn't matter. You've got to make sure that it's rooted somehow in your pedagogical efforts, okay? I know things can be new and shiny, and immediately I'm just as guilty of this. When I see something new, I'm already thinking, where can I plug this in? Just because it's new. I have to back down a little bit. So I've got to figure out a way, how can I really connect this, okay? So when we're just choosing things or we're just throwing things out there because they're shiny and new, then we're creating some dangerous territory, all right? Because then learning's not going to occur. If anything else, maybe some frustrations, all right? I do encourage people to use a variety of tools, all right? If you choose just one and use it, that's fine. And then over time, maybe you can have a course in which all the content maybe has a little bit of everything. And that's fine too. Technology must support your instruction, okay, and not be the instruction. I freelance on the side, do some education reporting for a weekly newspaper in Elkton, Kentucky. That's about 2 or 3 counties to the east of us, okay? The superintendent made a really fascinating comment to me about a few months ago. I went on site to a school that was performing poorly academically on its test scores. And it's trying to really turn things around. So I went and spent a day with the school. I got to talk to teachers and students and everybody. And the superintendent was with us, and he said the thing was, in the past, the teachers were just throwing the students to the computers. There was really no learning going on. Just whatever they thought was new and fun, and it was technology, they thought that would replace the instruction. And when he made that point, I thought, wow, that's really important. So I told him I was going to steal that a little bit. So this comment really should be attributed more to him, but technology must support the instruction. So there still has to have that eye-to-eye contact there and not be the instruction. I just always like to put out those words of caution there, if you will. All right, so kind of moving along, let me showcase some of these favorite tools of mine. Photobabble. I call this a talking photo, okay? So what this does, I'm going to show you some examples of what a student of mine had done previously. The way I use it is in my news writing classes, students have to be able to report on business current news. Okay, I do teach some business journalism, so they've got to be able to identify some news sources out there and write some news stories. So let's say, for instance, we're working on a business story regarding, I don't know, Dunkin' Donuts. That's my favorite coffee place. Okay, so we'll just say Dunkin' Donuts. So they might go online to find an image of a storefront, or maybe they'll go take a photo even. I've even encouraged them to take their own photos, but maybe they just go down to 12th Street and get a photo there. And then they would take that photo and then upload it into Photobabble. But they're going to write a little news story, a 60-second clip, that basically tells what the current thing is about Dunkin' Donuts. Okay, maybe it's a new product, or maybe, I don't know, maybe sales were reported. Maybe they're up, maybe they're down. I don't know, whatever the story angle is. And they would record that little 60-second story clip over the photo, okay? In PR, this is a notable tool that's used. Now, what you could do, okay, so this is where I was trying to think of some ideas that could go across the disciplines here. If you know somebody who teaches art, okay, that's a possibility where an image of the, whatever the sculpture, painting, whatever it might be, can be uploaded. Maybe you have students doing some stories, or maybe you're analyzing a story, or analyzing some sort of piece of literature, and maybe you want them to identify with a character, okay? They can find an image of that character, upload it, and then record whatever you might have them do, okay? And it could apply to something. Combining some of the visual, and you're having them do some sort of writing, and then they're going to have to be comfortable with how they present themselves, okay? So, this is an example that a student of mine did. We're going to try and play this. I was trying it earlier. Justin helped me, so we're going to see if this works. And there's the play button right there.
The estate of late author Harper Lee will not allow any publisher to renew the license to print the paperback edition of To Kill a Mockingbird when it expires this April. The book has been the backbone of high school curriculum for decades, but the discontinuation of the paperback edition, which costs $8.99 per book, means that schools will now have to pay between $14.99 and $16.99 for other versions. This expiration of the license will occur because of the wishes of the author. Questions have stirred to understand why Harper Lee, who died less than a month ago, would not issue the paperback license of her beloved book. I'm Rochelle Rosa, and this has been today's LitFit.
She was pretty creative in this assignment. She was always like this. I want to point out some things to you. So the way I had my students to share their work with me is through the this link right up here. So it'd be www.photobabble.com, and then a bunch of other coding elements to that. So that's how I would have them share that with me. In the past, I used to have them do a blog where they then had to embed a flash code into their blog. So I had them do it a couple of ways. Right now, all I do is I just have them copy the URL address to their work, and then it's shared with me. And then, of course, all my rubrics and everything would follow. Okay, so that's an example. Yes.
60 seconds is
That's
maximum?
no, that used to be the maximum actually, and it was about a couple of years ago. They've now extended it. You set that parameter. I just know with us in our field, 60 seconds is about all the human ear can really tolerate. So, if you want it to be a minute, that's fine. Minute and a half, that's fine too. I am looking at another software, of course, web-based and free, Adobe Sparks. It has something similar to this. The only problem is it does have a limit of 30 seconds. That's a little tight. It can be done, so I'm considering that as well. But until then, Photobabble's pretty good. However, let me just say this. Photobabble does have its problems from time to time, okay? All software does. And I've tried to really push students to understand that you can't wait to the last minute to do these projects, okay? Of course, what happens, they're still doing it the last minute, and it's causing sometimes the system to lock up. So then they can't get through. Photobabble at times too, they do a lot of upgrades, and so they're always, you've got the site down, so there's always going to be those issues. Alex, did you have a question?
Yeah, so can you give them I guess I don't understand the interface. If I were to, let's say, give them an image and ask them to interpret this in light of course concepts, do I put the image on and they all...
No, you send the image
I
to
send
them,
them
like
an
post it in
image
your
and they-
Canvas file or
I see,
something.
and then they each post their own...
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then all they need is that link to get it back to me?
Yes,
Huh.
that www dot. Because there are 3 different ways to share this. It's either through a URL or to embed into another site or something like that. And then there's another code given for non-flash as well as HTMLS. Okay, so.
Have you ever tried VoiceThread for this? It would allow for more collaboration or feedback from the class to send
Oh, that's awesome. No, I did not. Now, when I did operate the blog, students would leave comments and stuff, but VoiceThread, awesome, thank you. I'm going to remember that as well. That's good.
Thing, and you can even have them shoot
Yeah.
themselves with a video. It doesn't have to just be audio.
Very good.
And it's really nice though because you get more participation.
See, I like that. Awesome. And that was another thing I was hoping to accomplish with today is another idea. Yeah,
Is that a separate piece of software? Okay.
VoiceThread.
It
Anything?
used to be free, and I don't know if it is anymore though. I'll
Okay.
Look that up. It's
Okay.
been a little bit since I've used it.
Okay,
Yeah.
no problem. VoiceThread. So everybody, VoiceThread is another option. Good. Excellent.
It's still free.
Is it?
Some institution has license for it though, like for example IU where I'm from, the institution has a license that it's a LTI in Canvas that you could literally use it there or use it on your own. So to some extent, I think it should still be, but the last time I checked, but there going to be more to it. I guess if the institution really has a license.
Yes.
How easy is for the students to do this? Because sometimes they cannot do it and you need to know to explain to them how to do it. So
Yes, so
exactly.
an instruction sheet of some sort, if you will. I do have one, and I'm more than willing to share that. So if I can get, I guess, email addresses, you can either give it to me at the end, or I can get them from Faith, and that way I'm happy to share the instruction sheet that I do give to students. That way they know how to do it. That might be helpful.
So when the students are recording their voiceover,
Yes,
is it like an editing software or is it one take?
one take.
Okay.
Yeah. I do encourage students to practice before doing this, and that way they can work out, little kinks, try not to do the things that we normally do in everyday conversation. Always encourage too that the image, if they're selecting an image, that it's a good quality JPEG. I'm not sure. I don't remember off the top of my head if other image files are supported. But as far as I know, it's pretty much JPEG. Okay. Any other questions? Good questions. Okay, good. All right. Padlet. I like Padlet. So what is Padlet? I call this kind of a virtual wall because this is where basically any user can go on the wall, post a comment, photo, voice even, okay? I kind of think of it also like Post-it notes, so you're just posting things, but it's on this wall on the web, all right? I'm going to show you an example as well. What I normally do with students, what I've done is I would maybe just have a quick question, and I just want them to put on there just, you know, a few words or maybe a couple sentences. So it's almost like a discussion outlet, if you will. So what you could do, maybe you have some content that you want them to know, but maybe it's not something that needs to spend a whole class session about. So maybe you can summarize a large amount of information, post it on there in a visually pleasing way. You can also choose templates with background, stuff like that. You can add in text, photos, graphs, any other learning tools that you want, sharing images with students, okay, maybe before a big test or discussion. It could be anything. So let me show you what I did. Oh, by the way, I'm not doing a good job of telling you these addresses. So for Photobabble, it was photobabble.com, and that's with an F. So it's not PH, it's with an F. Okay, photobabble.com. And then Padlet is padlet.com. I really like this. Becky Richardson introduced me to this little tool. I really have enjoyed it. So what I did one semester, actually it was last semester, and I was doing a guest lecture for a reporting class, and I wanted to know their ideas on transparency because we were going to talk about sunshine laws, which is a really important tool for us in journalism. But I wanted to understand their ideas of transparency. So I created a board, a virtual wall, sent the link to the instructor, and then the instructor shared that link with them. So what they then did, they don't have to create an account or anything. They can just go on there and put it. And I had their names up here because I wanted to see who said what. I know these students as well. And what I did with this further, because I mean there's a lot of comments. I'm not even showing you the entire thing here. But what I was able to do was then take their comments and convert it into a CSV file, which then I could try to identify some, you know, just a quick coding, if you will. Nothing extraneous, but just quick, just to see what were they talking about. When you say transparency, are we talking about, I was looking for concepts of openness. I was looking for, you know, sunshine. I was looking for just any of those types of relative terms. Okay, so that's what I did with that. The thing was, though, it got them to participate in a way that I don't think they would have done had I that day and asked them, what is transparency? I don't think the comments would have been as thoughtful and insightful as they were up here. So that's why I really liked this pretty well. Yes?
Were you the person to send out the question, or is this a question for a different class? Did the students feel like they had to answer the question, or
I worked with the instructor to where, yeah, they had to answer the question for points. Yes. Yes. Because she was not going to be in class, and so it was basically my class for a week, and we wanted to make sure that they participated. Yeah. Another reason for the names. Okay. All right. This one, like I said, it's really easy. Only, you know, you would create the account. Students don't have to create accounts, and I think sometimes that's one of the things I wished more of the web-based tools would be easier, is that you wouldn't have to create so many accounts. But until that's done away with, we just have to deal with that kind of a beast. Okay. The next one is Piktochart, and it's piktochart.com. Piktochart.com. So if you need to have students design a chart or some sort of graph, but your students might not have the knowledge or with some sort of wherewithal when it comes to design software, because we all know that's really expensive, all right? And then not every student's going to have that kind of experience, even though they might be savvy in some technology. This is the site where you can go and have them create simple, and it's really simple, simple charts designed around an idea that you're wanting them to grasp, okay? So they create graphics, and they have various theme templates. You've got neat little photos. You have icons. You've got it all, okay? So what could you do with it? you can do some sort of compare and contrast of information, and they could design that in a visually appealing way. Maybe you have some data that you do want them to put into a chart or a graph form, all right? And you want them to be able to see some trends as a result. Maybe there is a process that you want them to visually arrange somehow so they can create those infographic type materials that we've seen so much out there in the news. If you need them to create a timeline, that's a possibility too, okay? There's another software similar, well, not really similar to this, but it does basically, it achieves some of the same purposes, is Infogram. I find that to be a little cumbersome to use. I've tried it, I didn't like it. I have a colleague who does use Infogram, and then those same students with me have used Piktochart. What we've received is that they do like the Piktochart a lot better than the Infogram. That's anecdotal, but at least that gives you some idea, okay? So here is what one looks like. So I just gave them a question, just something fun for them to do, just as a start, so that way they could, you know, really learn the ins and outs of the program somewhat. So just what's on your mind. We asked readers what concerns are always in their thoughts, and here's what they said. So I made up these numbers, okay? I made up everything. I just wanted them to learn how to put this stuff together. Then we went on to the next harder task, okay? So gave them all of that, and this one student really put it together in a nice visually appealing way that would make a reader stop, want to read it, and then, you know, maybe connect with it in some way. I had several students over the past 3 years tell me that not only did they like this for this particular class, which was copy editing, but when they had to do charts for other classes, this is what they did, okay? So it kind of carries over for some of them. The only problem that I don't like with Piktochart, but it could be easily photoshopped, I guess, if you will, is you do have the watermark right here of Piktochart, but it does not apply on the piece itself, just at the bottom. So, I mean, I guess students could really just chop that off if they needed to use it for any other way, okay? It's really simple to use. And then my big favorite one, they were all my favorites, but this is really my favorite, and it's Storify. Storify is a digital curation tool, and digital curation is becoming a big buzzword in my field, but I'm also finding out as I just glance at other fields, curation is more than just a museum term. It's really becoming something really popular in all the other fields. And what this tool does, it allows us to tell a story, okay? Or arrange some information just using this tool, and this tool then plugs into other social media accounts that either you can operate or that you do have, or just other URL social media accounts out there. So students can pull tweets. They can go on Twitter and pull a tweet, okay? They can include videos. They can include pictures, any type of online content. That's the key. So Storify connects into online content. All right, so it's nothing really that you can upload or a student can upload. It is from online. All right. The reason why this tool was created is because we all know there's a lot of online content out there, and trying to make sense of it all is, you know, rather befuddling, if you will. And definitely in our field, where we are trying to help people, news consumers, make sense of what's being reported out there, this Storify tool was created to help journalists in that objective, okay? So what you can do with it, I always start my classes with current events discussions. We take about 5 minutes and we just talk about what's going on in the world. But not only that, I want them to tell me how it's being reported, okay? But maybe in your classes you all do talk about current events relevant to your field, okay? Maybe there's something going on in education, so you want to make sure students are on top of education issues, okay? So you could use a tool to have them create their own current events that way, or you can and start your discussions that way. You can also use it to create a multimedia book report. So maybe if you want to move away from that, you know, the paper form and have them do something like this, that's a possibility. Maybe reenact a historical narrative. You know, there's a number of things you could really do with that. It's really a fun tool. So here's what it looks like. It actually doesn't look like that. I had to reduce it down just so I could show you what it is. So the top part is a big image. You have no control over that image, okay? It just kind of plugs in whatever image I think that you last put in there. What I had students to do in my copy editing class, they had to choose a broad topic, like education. I'm gonna pick on education, okay? And they had the opportunity to scale that down to find maybe either some of the top news going on in education, or maybe they wanted to focus on a particular area. Maybe nowadays with all this talk about possible charter schools, you know, maybe that's something they could focus on. So they could go online, they would create their Storify account, connect it to Twitter, Facebook, the web. There's a number of other social media sites that it connects to, and see what they could find, what's out there about charter schools. Okay, so that's an example there. So in my copy editing class, we had different topics: education, health, government, both state and national. We also had business, sports, music, book industry. We had a number of topics that they could select. So they basically had to study that topic for a semester. And then maybe a couple of weeks prior to their presentation date, find the most current information and piece it together, if you will. So the students would come up with the headline, which you can't see probably, but it says, "Report shows infants and parents should share a room to avoid SIDS." And he would have a brief narrative, just like we do when writing any other news story or article or paper. And then he pulled a tweet from CNN that gave more information about the issue. And then he would segue into another subtopic of health and fitness. Okay, so that was something that we did. It is kind of a fun activity that the students really enjoy. Another thing that I've used with it before is as a digital study guide. This is an example here where we would take maybe a day before a test, and they had their Twitter accounts ready, and I would say some questions that possibly could be on the test. I didn't give them the test, but I just gave them some questions to kind of jar up some thinking, if you will. And they would tweet their correct responses to my questions in class. And at the end of the class period, I then would go and organize the best tweets, whoever had some of the best responses, into a Storify digital study guide. I would then take that link and then share it with them. I told them, of course, don't use this only as your study aid. You know, please study your notes, the book, everything. But it might be something just to look at 5 minutes before the test, you know, if you will, okay? They loved this more than anything. This was really fun. I didn't do it one semester, and so when I had students come back, they were like, "Can we please do that again?" I was like, "Okay, we'll do it." There really weren't any problems with this. It's just trying to carve out that time, you know, when instruction time is precious already, so.
So, Melody, you put the questions in first, and then
You could do it either way. What I did is I actually would say them during class. We would take about 30 minutes. A colleague of mine, she actually posted the questions either on the board or she already had them posted in her Twitter. They knew to look those up. And then maybe within a 24-hour period, they had to tweet the answers. And then she would do the same thing.
I'm a part of a book study right now with our international group that I belong to.
Awesome.
And they've got, it's over 1,000 people doing this book study, and we do slow tweets every day, and we have questions that we respond to. And then the mediator or the moderator for that day will go in and do
Yes.
Storify to pull what she felt were the most telling or
Yes.
instructive tweets and puts it out to everybody. So you don't have to go through
All of them,
1,000.
exactly.
So it works out really, really well.
Awesome. That's really good. Excellent. Yeah. Okay. All right. So those are my 4 favorites, with Storify being my most awesome favorite, if you will. You know, we kind of briefly talked about some of these issues, but there are limitations when working with any kind of software or technology. We do have glitches and crashes, so I noted that Photobabble at times didn't seem to want to work. But and it was funny, whenever I would log on, it would work just fine for me. So, you know, again, the stories I got were amazing, especially at midnight when they think that I'm really up, you know? So, upgrades. The software tools that I showed you, those are the basic, okay? Of course, if you're wanting more bells and whistles, you either have to pay into it or the students have to pay into it. It's whatever you're wanting to do. I would not really advise that. Just work with the basic, whatever basic program there is. That's going to be the best way anyhow, okay? And then some access issues in terms of, for one thing, even computer equipment. I always put in my syllabus that I have to make sure they understand you need to have access not only to a computer, but to a reliable working microphone. So making sure that your computer has that built-in feature, that you can hear things, that you have this software to do this and you have this to do that. So that's one thing I'm talking about. Also with access, meaning, and then of course internet. That's the other big thing. You'd be surprised when they realize, oh, I've got to have internet. Yeah. Even if you're in class, you still have to have the internet feature. Okay. All right. So just recap again about building your toolbox, and then we've learned about voice thread. So that's another neat feature, and I'm sure maybe y'all have got some tools we can discuss and share in a few moments. I think I like technology the most because it does re-energize us a little bit. All right. A lot of times I try to think back during my days of undergrad, long time ago, and I'm thinking, I did just fine though in just a lecture format. I did very well. But today's students, we're in a different environment, different landscape today. And so rather than going against technology, let's really use it to our advantage, okay? And let's let it re-energize us, not replacing our teaching, but just helping us to get certain lessons across better. Don't be afraid to try something new. And tell students, we're going to try something new. And if it flops, it flops. That's okay. I think students appreciate that more than anything. They really do. So if you want to try it. And then you'll know how to either improve it or find something else, okay? Always have fun. Somebody asked me at the Kentucky Convergence Conference, how do you find all your tools? And it's like, well, if you have a faculty development center, go to the workshops. If they're showcasing one, that's one way. Another way is being in my field. I'm just introduced to them a lot. We get newsletters all the time about them. Google, it's no different than finding information for anything else, okay? So just, always be on the search of what could work for you and, of course, for your students. Okay, that's really what it's all about. It's about student learning at the end of the day. Okay. I think many of you know where to find me, but in case you don't, there I am. Okay, if you have any questions whatsoever. Anything y'all would like to share? Like, what do y'all do? I'm needing to still build my toolkit. It's full, but I can work on another one. So, is there anything that y'all do already in class?
I teach faculty, and my staff teaches faculty in the College of Education and Human Services. So something that we're going to try, I don't know if you all will do it or not, but we're going to try Google Classroom and use it as kind of a mini collaboration space.
Good.
Good. See how that goes.
Awesome.
But we're really into Google, and there's so many things you can do collaboratively.
Yes, there
Google,
is.
and it's free.
That's exactly right.
So.
Well, absolutely. It's a part of the feature with our Gmail account. So absolutely. Great. Awesome. Yes, Google is really good. I'll be teaching a class in the fall that I taught 2 years ago, but Google will be a big part of it, especially when it comes to database reporting. You say databases or Excel or anything like that to my students, and they'll say very dirty words. So, because they just don't like it. They don't like numbers. They don't like any of that. But Google, though, especially with its spreadsheet format, it's just more helpful. It's more friendly, and students are working with Google already.
Yeah.
They're not working with Excel. They're working with that. So.
Well, and with forms, too. That's the cool
yes.
thing. You can add that extra layer of them actually creating a survey,
right.
gathering the data, and then having to do something
exactly.
with it. So.
Exactly. Very good.
It's not a software, but Melony, this semester I adopted a way of presenting.
Okay.
And if I'm butchering the name, I apologize. Japanese. It's a Japanese form of presentation. Pika.
I know that.
Yeah.
Yes. 20 seconds.
Yes, that's exactly right. And because what would happen is our students would come in and they present information, and I'd say, okay, keep it at this, but they'd go over every time. Halfway through it, they'd lose everybody. But basically, this style of presentation, it's 20 slides, 20 seconds, and
Yep.
you're just running through the stuff. So that way someone stays fresh throughout the entire presentation. So we'll
Yes.
see how it goes.
Please,
Yeah,
because
I'm excited about it.
yeah, I would be. It's fun. I didn't do it. I saw it at it was, oh gosh, when was
it
this?
Blitz Week is where you saw it?
No,
Okay.
actually, it was at a conference in Denver or at Steamboat Springs, Colorado, like 3 or 4 years ago. Visual Communication Conference is what it was, and yeah, it's Peak of something. I can't remember.
Right.
That's going to bother me now.
Kucha,
KUCHA?
yeah. Kucha, yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So, very good.
Yeah, so we'll see.
Now you're giving me an idea for a class this semester.
I know, I've got
Although,
several for you, yeah.
yeah, that's good. Good. Anything else? Any other questions or any other comments? Well, thank you all so much, and I hope these help you. If you don't use these, but maybe they'll lead you to something else. So,
Thank you.
thank you.